January 25th, 2023, and this is the workshop farm animals for 5 o'clock.
We live. Okay. We done did the Pledge of Allegiance and the call to order, so now we've got a roll call. Mayor Frazier here, Councilman, well actually that's an old one, that's Councilman Cook, so we're going to say Councilman Travis King. Here. Councilman David Bishop is absent. I'm scratching on your thing here. Councilwoman Mary Fleming.
Here.
Councilman Bill Coon is absent. Town Clerk Connie Buchanan, she is absent. And Town Attorney Lindsay Landers.
I'm here.
He is here. Good. All right. Guys, we really don't have no additions. At least, I mean, the only reason we're here tonight is to talk about farm animals. So, inside the city limits. So, really, I mean, y'all, as long as y'all okay with that, just need a motion to approve the agenda. So, we ain't really having it, but but we can approve what we're talking about. So, I just need a motion.
That we approve the agenda for tonight's meeting.
Second.
Second.
Good. All in favor of approving the agenda as is, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. All right, good deal. All right, there's no minutes from my workshop or anything, so we'll go into public participation at this time, guys. So if anybody in the public would like to stand up and speak, remember we're on the time, so yeah, so 3 minutes. So if you want to go ahead. It's all you, but hey, you can just stay there and just talk. It's a workshop, so it's not a formal meeting.
So really, the reason I'm here is a couple of reasons.
State your name.
My name's Elizabeth Bell.
Elizabeth Bell, okay.
And I live on Paisley Court.
Yep.
And I am here just for a couple of things. One is to find out what to do, what the process is when someone has violated these things. Our county commissioner has cows in the field that were changed to RSF2. I asked him to remove them, and he hasn't complied. And I'm just wondering why our county commissioner isn't setting the example for everybody else in town for following the rules and regulations.
Right.
And then what can be done about that, because he basically poo-pooed me off.
Right.
Where's Paisley Court?
It's the one on the last. If you go on back toward High Springs, the last. It's on 40. It's on 27. The last.
And that property's changed to SF2.
Well, Rockies. Where her land is at the end, she butts up against the back of Rockies.
The
pasture, the old farm. The old farm.
Right.
Yes.
And the answer is yes. On September 8th, they approved that. The ordinance is ordinance number. 202205.
Yeah, right. Yep.
Now we're talking about that big old water not field.
Let her talk right now. Okay. Yes, ma'am. It's her floor.
So that's one thing. Another thing I heard is the possibility that they're talking about letting chickens in town, and that's an issue as well, because especially if that particular housing development comes to fruition, if you change any of the books here as far as the acreage and the number and whatever, that's going to be a huge effect. There's 100 houses there, so. I moved to town, so I didn't have to deal with farm animals. And unfortunately, the field that was growing peanuts turned into a cow field. So I didn't have any control over that. It is what it is. But now that he's changed it to RSF2, I should be able to live in town, which is what I chose, without having to deal with that. And chickens too.
Which I think that's going to, hopefully, that'll work itself out, which we're going to try to address. That's why we're here. Because this all came about, as you remember last meeting, somebody got up fussing about a horse or a cow or something down, what was it?
The hogs.
I don't know what it was, something.
A little bit of everything.
I don't know what it was. It was something.
Goats and cows and
It's been an issue, and that's what I try to explain to everybody. We did not write the land development book. This group that's up here right now, this was written before our time. So, and as you know well, what it states about animals inside the town limit, we didn't put that there. It's there.
And I understand that. That's one of the reasons I moved to this town, was because there were restrictions and no farm animals. Now, you take that away, then you you have a choice. You can either live in town with no farm animals, or you can buy out of town and have farm animals.
Right.
But you take away you put farm animals in town, and you take away my choice. I have no choice. Now, you give other people two choices. You can live in town or out of town. It doesn't matter. You can have farm animals. But you then impede on my choice, because now you've taken away a choice that I made when I moved here specifically for that reason. Now I don't have a choice.
Right. Right.
So that's kind of where I stand. And I would expect everyone to abide by the same rules.
Right.
Whether you're a county commissioner, you're the mayor, you're a councilman, or you're just a normal person.
Right.
No one should be above anybody else.
Right. Right.
And mine is a medical reason. You know.
Right. Yes, ma'am.
We've talked about it. So,
Yes, ma'am.
that's my
That's
thoughts.
it. No, that's what we're here for now. We're here to try to figure out an avenue of what direction everyone wants to try to proceed. Whatever the decision, and we can't make a decision tonight because it's not on our vote tonight, but at least we can hear the arguments and stuff. But what the board, whatever, I think the majority, see if this makes any sense. That problem you have right now with the field and stuff and the cows, that's going to work itself out as soon as they start splitting in sections and houses or whatever they decide to do with that.
Well, I don't mean to interrupt you, but the problem with that is that hasn't even been approved yet.
Right, well, I think they're going through the process, right?
Right,
So,
but you've
yes.
changed it already. So you can't have it both
Right.
ways. Either you have cows on there and
Right.
it's agricultural,
Right.
or you don't have cows on there and it's RSF too.
Right, right.
It's one way or the other. You can't have it both ways.
Is this property in the city limits that you're talking about?
Yes, it's, yeah.
Here's something that I wanted to bring up and talk about. Now, I'm going to give a caveat here to everybody in the audience who may not. I've been on this job for about a month and a half. I took over from Mr. Coberline, and ascended to the bench. And I was not around when the animal issue came up before, so I have about that much knowledge about what's going on with animals in the city limit. And I'm just getting acquainted with the LDRs for the town of Fort White and the ordinances and the zoning, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I've done this type of work for a long time, so I feel fairly comfortable talking about it, but the caveat is what I want to say next is just based on what I have seen so far. All right, so I've done this job for a long time, and sometimes attorneys will say something, and then the public will just run with it. Well, that lawyer said X, Y, and Z. Okay, so I'm giving this big long speech to say I'm looking at something that appears to read in a certain way. But I'm not 100% sure that I'm reading it right because I'm just getting on the job and just getting all the information. But one thing I wanted to bring up, and it's actually why I got here early, so I wanted to try to talk to some people and see if I could understand this a little better, is that when I read our LDR, which again, you guys are saying it predated you guys.
Right.
It appears to me that the way it's written is that livestock are permitted within the city limits, period. That there is no requirement for the property to be agricultural. Now, if you read this, where they talk about a requirement for agricultural is under the special permit that goes through the keeping and raising, breeding of any class 1 or class 2 animals, establishing a commercial kennel, keeping, raising, breeding. There's A, B, C, D, and E of different things where they talk about needing a special permit and it has to be within agricultural. But then it goes on to talk about livestock as just these are livestock. This is what livestock is, and then it goes on to talk about on page 15 under D, animal density on lots or parcels 2.5 acres or less in reported and unreported subdivision. The maximum animal units allowed shall be 1 per acre, and then goes on to establish what those are. So how I read this is that whoever wrote this at one point basically said, if you have an acre, at least an acre, then you can have a cow, a horse, a hog, a sheep, a goat, a llama, a hen, a rooster, duck, turkey, duck.
You're reading on B now? On B?
On D.
On D.
On
Okay.
D, page 15.
On D.
And
Okay, I see what you're saying,
if
right.
you look at that,
But I think, is that not a following of B though, under special use permit? Would that not be tagged if it's a special use permit?
15.
Now, I could be wrong with that, but I'm saying, I think, is that not a follow-up to that?
Oh, this one.
See, that's what, I mean, I know it's very confusing,
It's
so.
a different, no, sure, because I mean, I say no, I don't think so.
Right.
Because it's its own separate, classification. B is for special, this is what's required for special permits. And then it talks about the type of activities you have to have for a special permit. You know, where D is coming from is if you go back to so you go back to page 13, 3.09.03 animals. And then it talks about all different types of animals, including livestock, which is on page 14. And then it starts talking about different regulations for different types of animals. B being the ones that require a special permit, which are required to be in a agricultural zoning setting, blah, blah, blah. Then you go to C, household pets. Says, hey, you have household pets. You can raise them, breed them, etc. And B, animal density on lot, and they set out the criteria by which you could have animals within the city on lots 2.5 acres or less.
I think you're right.
And basically, at least 1 acre. So I think the way this is written, and it may not have intended to be written that way, but it's basically saying if you got at least an acre, you got a cow right in city limits, or you got a horse right in city limits.
One animal
Well,
per acre?
It said on lot parcels 2.5 acres or less.
or less,
Okay.
and it says the maximum animal use allowed shall be 1 per acre, and then it goes on to say that the number that equals 1 animal unit. So for cows, horses, and hogs, it's 1. For sheep, you could have 2. For goats, you could have 2. For llamas, you could have 2.
I'm saying that we
For
definitely take
hens, you could have 15. For roosters, you could have 1.
Yeah.
For ducks, etc., you could have 5. And for rabbits and other rodents, you could have 5.
Hogs.
Yeah, hogs, yeah.
But if you said that,
Go ahead, let's let her finish and then we'll move to the
I
next
just
one.
have a question. So what you're saying is that the zoning doesn't matter as long as they have 1 acre?
I'm saying what I have read.
Okay, let me rephrase that. So what you have read so far means that whether it's zoned RSF2 or agricultural, as long as you have over an acre, you can still have an animal.
Well, now, you're going to be protected.
Because that's different.
You're going to be protected. You just so happen that you butt up beside a large acre tract. Unfortunately, your subdivision has probably got subdivision rules somewhere that is recorded that's saying that no chickens, no cows, no horses, no animals inside your subdivision. That is a recorded document. You probably can find it in the courthouse. I don't know if
As an
the developer
HOA.
was, so.
That's kind of not.
As an HOA?
Right, yeah, like an HOA type deal or whatever, but it should be a recorded document somewhere stating what you're allowed, not allowed, whatever. Well, you're just, unfortunately, your house is built right beside the farm.
Right, but that really wasn't my question. My question is, what he's saying is, it sounds like it doesn't matter whether
Right.
it's zoned or.
And that's what I'm seeing here too now. I'm going, yeah, I'm seeing that too.
well, that's what the bylaws are saying now.
Yes, that's what I'm seeing. I'm going. I didn't even really pick up on that myself when I first read it. I went, now I'm going back
But
and
so
going,
this
right.
is town, so what about the county? Does town supersede county as far as zoning laws go?
No, just town. We only regulate
County does
town.
all
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, we have nothing to do with the county, nothing. We don't regulate nothing out there. Only inside city limits is what we have jurisdiction over.
I don't know. So how would you find out? I mean, once you're not sure, then how do you
Well,
find out? I mean, residential.
that's why we're here tonight, that's why it started. We just found out about this a couple months ago ourselves. None of us was on the board when all this was about. I mean, it's a whole different board.
No, I understand that.
The following standards must be met before a special use permit for a foregoing may be. Okay, that's about a special use permit. So that's about the if you want to issue a special use permit, it cannot be within a recorded or unrecorded subdivision, basically what they're saying.
Correct. And those are those specific types of activities, and they're defined within that special use permit section. But then this section about animals that basically covers livestock animals is in its own separate section, and it does.
Well, yeah, and you're right. It does break it down. It shows it right there. I never really. I read this thing thorough, and I thought that I had a true understanding until you just pointed that out.
And it doesn't differentiate between different zoning within the city. And we're just talking within the city. County may have other regulations, but you're saying this piece of property that you're concerned about is within the city. Then
I'm concerned about all the properties in the city.
Sure.
With farm animal.
Yeah.
That's, like I said, that's why I moved here, so I didn't have to deal with that stuff. Unfortunately, the field turned into a pasture. But again, now it can't be rectified until it's rectified through this because of zoning stuff and it not being clear or whatever. So where do we go from here?
You're right. Hen. So they're saying on 2.5 acres less, 15 hens, 1 rooster, duck, turkey, pheasant, goose, 5, rabbit.
Can I ask, are you having an issue with the livestock on that property? What is it?
I don't really want to get into it. But long story short, I'm fostering a friend's dog who passed away. And
Sorry.
Right now I have a run, and when those cows are right at the front, I'm disabled, I can't hang on to her. She wants to go see what it is, because she's a dog, right?
Right.
And they come up to the front, and if she pulls me, or yanks me, or whatever, because the cows are in the field, and again, I have obviously a totally different understanding of the rules now, then I'm gonna get hurt.
Sure.
And again, the only reason I said anything was because they wanted it changed to RSF2 so they could build 100 houses. So if that's how it was, my understanding was it's in the city. It's not agricultural anymore. It's zoned residential, and they shouldn't be on there. That's not what he's saying. So yes, I do have a problem.
Yeah.
Mr. Leonard, it's crazy how you read it and come out with 2 different. Because I was under understanding this thing was reading that you could not. I read it 2 or 3 times too, and now that you pointed that out, I'm going, he's right. It is stating that.
And obviously something that you guys have either addressed, and I don't mind talking with Joe Foreman to see if there are some overlaps with the city and county on the zoning, and don't mind looking into this further. But again, this is what I was provided, kind of like everyone else, for this meeting. And when I read it, it just appears that way that you could have. And you're talking about a small number of animals. 1 basically.
Right.
For the most part, unless you're talking about chickens, you have some chickens. But it doesn't seem to say that it matters if you're residential or agriculture or whatever. If you have at least an acre on your property, which I don't know how many plots in the city have at least an acre, up to 2.5 acres.
Have an acre?
A bunch of them.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of the half acres and quarter acres, but there is some.
Bunch of
There's quite a
1
few.
acre.
There's a few. So
Yeah, that's just what it appears to me. And
The big lots are dwindling, but there is quite a few, but.
Well, north of town, see, right past the hardware store, our family land is busted up in families now. But it goes from there all the way to the city limit sign. I mean, and all that big acreage. But you're talking about this piece out here on 18, I guess?
no, on 20. Well, he's talking about the farm that's on 18, but her house is on Paisley.
Off of 27.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're in that like Hollywood subdivision?
Paisley. It's Paisley Court.
It was going to be a
The last subdivision.
The last one.
Out outside of town. So you
Just
go out
past Kelly
27.
and David's. Right past Kelly and David's Drive,
Cygnus.
right past Donald's Drive too. Two past Donald's.
Yeah.
Two past Donald's Drive, yes.
So it butts up Rocky them.
And it butts up to the field there,
Yeah.
on the backside, yeah.
Can I go ahead?
Yes, ma'am. If you will, state your name real clear so that the recorder hears it. So,
Sure, my name's Nicole Worth, with Nicole's Natural Dog Training here off of Emile Court, 357. And, I mean, as far as you with your dog, I can train it, not to pull you, no problem, that's what I do. But I came to these meetings about 4 years ago when I was purchasing my property, and you know me, I drive, you live right next door to my grandma. And I only purchased my 4.6-acre plot in the city limits because I was told that I could have my animals. And I've been flourishing, and I've been bringing lots of stuff to this community. My animals flourish; they don't hurt anybody. But I have only purchased that property for that purpose. And I've got 2 horses and a mini pony, and I've got some chickens. I've got my German shepherds that I breed, and then I've got my clients' dogs that I take and I do my board and train. And I have not had any issues this entire time until I was at the SNS earlier and heard that they were talking about kicking animals out, which means that I would have to kick myself out and my 4.6 acres and my 4-year-old, right? So I can understand most people, like if I was in the subdivision and that's what I wanted, I might not like having a bunch of animals, but I don't see why, if I have my 4.6 acres right inside the city, that it should not matter, right? Because I back up to the plot that was the old railroad track. So I have no neighbors on 2 sides, and on the other side I have some neighbors right there on the Mill Court by the old Baptist church, and they're very friendly, and I love that. I love my property. But going along with this gentleman right here, when I came to a ton of these meetings up until the closing on my house and this, that, and the other, and also with the building of my business, they had a lot of talks on animals. And it was exactly like you said. They said that I was allowed to have 5 dogs per acre, and I've got 4.5 acres, 4.6. I was allowed to have 1 horse per acre, and I've got 2 and a pony. So I've abided by my rules. I paid all my payments, So I'm just trying to figure out where I stand and if I need to put my house on the market.
Well, but it doesn't need to even say in here it's over, the acreage is over like more than 1 acre. Most of the subdivisions, like even in town, are half acres. I guess.
No, that's right, but I'm still saying.
Oh, this just contained her, she had less than 2.5 acres,
Yeah, so
right?
it's saying 2.5.
There ain't no restriction on that
Yeah, so
4 acres.
you'd be okay.
Less than 1.
Is that?
Where's it now?
It's less than 1.
Yeah,
Well,
less
it
than
says
1.
2.5 acres or less. You can have 1 animal per acre, but she got more than 2.5
Right,
acres.
yeah.
So it's not even pertaining to her as of right now.
Does that matter?
You had 2 separate ones?
It don't.
It's kind of written strangely.
Yeah.
It is.
Sorry.
I mean,
It says on lots or, and you almost have to read this in chunks, right? On lots or parcels of 2.5 acres or less in recorded or unrecorded subdivisions, the maximum, so you start out with it's got to be 2.5 acres or less, okay? So
Right.
2.5 is sort of an odd, arbitrary maximum, all right? Because then it says or less. The maximum animal units allowed shall be 1 per acre. So then the next paragraph says, this is what constitutes 1 animal unit. And it doesn't necessarily mean 1 animal. Like you said, you can have a certain number of animals. For like chickens, 1 unit equals 15 hens. So, you can have 1 unit per acre of these animals. So if you have 2.5 acres, or if you have a piece of property in the city limits that's larger than 2.5 acres, then that number would expand under this list. You look at this list and do the math to see what it could be within the.
well, it's not mentioning nothing over 2.5 acres.
Yes, I think what they're saying is that it has to be.
It has to be 2.5 to even be considered.
To even be considered.
Yeah. But if you go over 2.5, then what? Is it still?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why it's
It
written.
don't say.
And that's why I'm saying it's written odd, because you can't say, well, if you have 2.5 acres or less, you could have a horse. But if you have 3 acres, you can't have a horse. That defies all common sense.
Right.
But I promise you, if someone challenged you on it, they would win.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
So it's written poorly. which we could throw whoever right under the bus because none of us are involved.
Well,
Right, that's right,
And
exactly.
I wasn't so much concerned like with the property, I just wanted to make sure like if I need to pay something or what I need to do, and that's why I'm sitting here too, really, I'm not sure.
Do you have an occupational license?
Yeah, I think it's like, I think I owe y'all like $25, but I
Or
pay
you
on
might want to
every
get
year.
that paid.
Yeah, well, my problem is y'all don't use the cash only, and I'm always on the move.
No, we don't use cash only, no ma'am.
You don't?
No, not
Well,
cash.
Do you do what is it?
We do
Card?
checks,
Checks
checks
or
or cards. Yeah,
They can do it online, so?
yeah, no cash.
I did it online?
I stopped that cash thing as soon as I took mayor. I don't like cash. Cash goes
I
missing.
remember I tried to call and pay it over the phone, and she's like, no, you gotta come in.
Yeah,
And I did, I was like, okay.
yeah. So, yes, you just told on yourself.
Well, no, I didn't.
You done come to a public meeting and told on yourself.
No, I mean, I paid every other year, but I think
I got you. I'm just, hear me? I'm just picking on you, okay? Just
I just
picking.
want to make sure.
I just,
So-
I've got another question, or statement, or maybe it's a question and a statement, I don't know.
Guys, please, hey, before you say what you're going to say, please understand that the ones that's here tonight, I wish the whole town was here so they would understand what's going on. We didn't bring all this up. This is not the council that started all this.
Yeah.
We had gentlemen come in here about 2 meetings ago and fired this whole thing up and brought this to the forefront. So that's why it's on an agenda now. We would rather be at home with our families right now, but we're here with y'all discussing animals inside the town limit because somebody brought this up, okay? So yes, so now it's become an issue and we have to address it. So now what do we do as a council? We have to come and look at our land development book and try to figure out what this thing states about animals. And I know this young lady here she's had issues with, like you said, her dog's trying to chase cows and, she's got issues going on, so.
And that's great,
I got it.
that's not, that's.
I got a question for the council.
Right, and
For you,
yes, and I was gonna talk to you later, but, I guess my question or statement or whatever is, I would think that the intention of this seems to be that, like, the places that are an acre under, that are in town, most places aren't, I don't know very many places that are like in town, that are over an acre, other than Rockies, because it's grandfathered in, because it was a pasture,
Right.
before it all got developed. So my thought is, the intention of this is to keep farm animals out of the town itself, that's
Right.
under an acre.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? And to me, I'm okay with that. I
An
don't,
acre.
what's that?
You said you don't think that there's any over an acre within the city limits?
There might, no, maybe there are more though.
There's a ton.
Yeah.
Right directly, right in here, right in this little
Yes,
hub here.
I'm on city limit, water. I got a
There's-
big water problem now.
We live right across from the school, and it's probably 250 acres.
Okay, wow.
I mean,
Yes, there's a lot of track.
just about every bit of it's in the city limits.
Yeah, you're more.
Now, not just me, it's my whole family, that's family land.
Right.
But there's about that much right there, right across from the schools.
Right.
The only thing that's really broke down in about a half acre, quarter acre tract
Is
is
right
the
there.
center part of
Four blocks
Florida.
right there.
What they call the downtown district.
And now,
When you start spreading out from that downtown district, you're gonna start getting an acre and a half, 2 acres, it starts getting wider, so.
If you look at that, if this is the city
Yes.
limits
Oh, yeah.
back
yeah,
here,
that is what we're,
you could see the smaller parcels, but then you see all these
and
larger
I don't know,
parcels.
what pieces over right
Because
there.
on top of the
Yeah,
county.
I was thinking some of
You
them
know,
block,
half
yeah.
acre plot. You have
I
people.
don't know
that
exactly how
have
much it is, but it's
chickens.
over acre. I know
Actually,
just
it's
about right
mine.
here with my grandma, it's
Yeah.
just a little under 2 acres right
Yeah,
there.
see, that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Yeah, the lot right here.
My grandma,
Yeah.
that yellow house,
Yeah.
that used to be my grandma's.
Yeah, I remember when that was hers.
Yeah.
I can see my.
So,
Now, I've got a question for the council, because I'm reading this totally different than everybody's saying. They're restricting 2.8, 2.5 acres or less. They don't say nothing about 2.6 acres. Or up.
right.
I don't think that they meant, well, let's go by this chart, per acre going up. I mean, I'm asking y'all, how y'all read this?
She might be able to figure it
Guys,
out.
could
I
y'all,
understand, we're gonna have to give you to give us,
Yeah.
to figure this out, because they're not mentioning nothing over
Does that mean I'm
2.5
like,
acres.
no?
They sure aren't.
yeah.
Not one word.
Nothing's happening.
Nothing's happening.
I don't have to
Well,
sell
no,
my house.
no.
You don't need to sell your house
You
now.
have more than two.
I can still drive anywhere to the gas station.
That's a lot of land.
Buy her.
Well, that's what we're trying to figure out though, because like her, she's concerned, she got 4.5 acres.
Right.
And she's should she be involved in this or not? Because
Right,
it's over 2.5 acres.
right, I agree.
I
Right,
mean,
right.
we need to know, we got to find out,
And then you have to
I
look
think
at
it
the zoning
defies
too.
common sense to say that 2.5 acres or under, you can have these animals, but there's no,
There's right.
no limit, or there's no taking into account of over 2.5 acres. Honestly, again, I'm being very serious. I think it was poorly drafted
Yeah, definitely.
to not explain what it means over 2.5 acres. I think what they should have said is that, within, they should have left out the whole 2.5 acres. They should have, at least 1 acre.
Right, minimum 1 acre.
somewhere around
1
there
acre.
and go up.
Exactly.
Because they're not mentioning nothing over.
I agree. I think
We're
you're
gonna
reading it
probably have to
correctly.
redraft this.
I think you're reading it
To an
correctly.
extent to make it
So
a.
zoning wouldn't matter.
And now, that, Rocky Ford bought that piece of property from the Gwens, and that thing's been a farm since the 50s or 40s out there. I understand he changed
Yes, he did.
I understand he changed it, but it don't say nothing about that in here either. It says, this is something we definitely gotta look at.
Well, when I called.
It don't say nothing about it, that it's gotta be,
Right,
Hey.
right. No, it could be, it doesn't say RSF2 or ag, so.
For some reason, I feel like I called the county and they said something about zoning and RSF, that you couldn't have, farm animals on.
Well, and usually that is correct, that when you go to most places, the RSF2 is residential, and that does, but when this was drafted, it kind of opened it up for, it doesn't matter if it's RSF2 or agriculture or what.
Okay, so that's
So-
gonna be, is that gonna be
and,
addressed?
and every bit of that property of Rocky's in city limits now.
That's
Right.
right, it is.
Yeah.
It got annexed in a year ago or so, not quite a
How
year.
many acres, was that 110 acres?
102 or 3 or something, anyway, it was over,
It's over
a little over.
Right. Yes, ma'am.
Is Three Rivers Estates considered part of the city limits?
Three Rivers Estates out there, no ma'am.
It's not, okay.
They're not, so this wouldn't pertain.
No,
That'd be
it has
under
nothing to
county.
do with Three
That's
Rivers.
county.
We're still under the county.
Yeah, it would be under county.
Nothing to do with us.
Laws and restrictions, but always under the county.
City don't go too far past the park out here if you go out.
Right. Right there.
Okay, well,
Hey, thank y'all for coming.
What's next? What's next? I mean,
We need
we're gonna
to-
look at the zoning and RSF2 versus agricultural and over certain amount of.
We're gonna talk to Mr. Landers and figure out how to, because we do need to address, well, there is some things in here too. I know I know your issue, and I know, but there's some things in here like, me and Councilman King was just saying hogs.
Chickens too.
I don't
They
like
stink,
dogs.
they
I mean,
smell,
Yeah.
they're loud.
Well, you can't have chickens in your, I guarantee you, you can't have chickens in your subdivision.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not saying they're gonna put them up,
Put them out there
Half
too.
acres.
I mean, there's about 200 acres out there between everybody. But on 1 acre and with a hog,
He'll tear the whole 200
Well, it
acres
doesn't say
up.
anything about hogs in this either, so hogs shouldn't be allowed in the city limits, period.
it says swine. It does say
No,
swine.
It says swine. It says
Oh, I
swine.
didn't see that.
Yeah.
It says farm.
Okay.
Hog or other swine,
But
yeah.
see, well, we're gonna get to splitting hairs, what's right for somebody like you, I understand and I'm terribly sorry for your situation. But where do you draw the line?
That's
What's
it.
fair for you, but what's fair for Rocky, what's fair for Bill, to me,
Right, well, I
and,
understand that.
everybody
If
else.
it's been clear, then it would have been better, but it's not as clear. And I'm telling you, the county, it's hard.
Well, I got this whenever I moved into town, and I read it with a fine-tooth comb because I have dogs. I raised bird dogs, I got 4 dogs. I
Right.
fenced in my whole acre, talked with my neighbors,
And
and
I'm planning on doing that too, but I didn't plan on somebody dying and having to take their.
no, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. Everybody's situation is
Right,
different.
and the point is that, when you change it, should it then not change? That's the loophole. The loophole is right now, no.
Right.
There's no anything, but that's what you guys need to address.
Right.
I mean,
Let me ask you.
it's supposed to be, I'm sorry, go
No,
ahead.
you're good. You're good. What do you I think we all had some time to think about it. What's your feelings on all this, Mr. Cummings? I mean, what do you think? And I'm gonna go down the line here.
I'm not sure. I think we need to readjust it to make it clear
Right.
what needs to be changed. I don't know. But
Do
I
we
think
need to
it needs
allow,
be-
do we need to allow animals inside of town for what?
Well, I don't see where you can stop it with the people that's already got them. I mean,
Right.
you're talking about a man right outside town here that's had cows since he moved here. You talking about Rocky's land out there now, I don't know about the zoning, I don't know if it'll be changed or not. That's been a farm since the 40s.
Right.
You should know this would happen
Yeah,
here.
And then all our land-
it happened before he came on though, so
And
yeah.
then on our land is agriculture. I mean, there's been cows and hogs and
Right.
all kinds of stuff on chickens on that property too.
And
I mean, not that I'm
we
worried
got
about any.
chicken.
What do you think?
We do.
I know there's chicken up the road from me.
What do you think, Miss Mary? What's your thought?
I know
process
there's
on it?
chicken up the road from me and everyone.
I know, it's really questionable, 1 acre about a cow
Whatever, but,
and a hog,
Right.
but, I mean, it's questionable. We
like
gotta
I said,
talk
it's
about it.
gonna be hard to, I mean, it's, I don't know what we're gonna do about it, but I mean, it's gonna be hard to, when you
Definitely
say
gotta
farm
check.
animals, it's gonna have to hit everybody. If you do it for one, it's gotta,
My question is, do you guys know if the people that have the farm animals are abiding by this stuff? Obviously, Rocky's got a cow field, right, so that's not a big deal because it's like 100 acres,
Right.
whatever, it is what it is. But the guy that's got the goats in town,
Right.
so he got an acre plus?
Yes, I believe so.
You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Yeah,
is
yeah.
everybody that has
Well,
things now,
right.
are they all right within the limits as of now? Or is that something that then also has to be looked at?
no, well, I can't say that.
I didn't even know this existed. Who would have ever thought Fort White back in the 60s would have passed something like, or 70s, whenever, as many farmers as was around this town would have passed something like that. You know. So,
And there's one thing that we have to be cognizant of, because again, what I'm hearing from you guys is there's some big acreage that is within the city limits, and some of the big acreage may be being used for agricultural purposes. There's a Florida statute, it's 823.14 is the Florida Right to Farm Act, that says that any municipality, county, etc., can't infringe on existing agricultural practices. And so, you know, that is different than the guy who has a horse in his backyard. But if you're talking about if we have acreage within the city of Fort White that's being used for farm purposes, that we can't go and pass laws that restrict their right to continue those farming practices. And so we have to be careful as we go forward to not do anything that's just going to end up getting undone because it's violating the statute.
right.
Could they be grandfathered in if there were law, an ordinance made that addressed something that, do you know what I'm saying?
Not really, no.
So let's say this girl with 4.5 acres or whatever, that's her business, that's what she's doing. It's not necessarily farming, I guess, but it's still.
It wouldn't apply to her. It doesn't.
Okay, let's say she's farming on 4.5 acres. If they change it and go, no, and this is just, I know it's not gonna happen, I'm just saying, no, anybody that doesn't have 5 acres or more can't have cows. Then that person, why could that person not be grandfathered into that, so that didn't apply to them?
I think it would be violated of the statute. We couldn't do that. That's what I would.
Oh, I thought so the statute overall, okay.
Statute.
Okay, I'm sorry, I was under the understanding that you said if they were already
runs us
farming
all.
it.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about if we try to do that. If we try to say, okay,
I got
you
you.
guys who are farming, whose property lies within the city limits, we're gonna start restricting what you can and can't do. You can't do that. Now, again, we can address animals in the city limits. We can address things, and we can address, working on the language of listing.
This is confusing here, like, on lots or parcels of 2.5 acres or less and recorded or unrecorded subdivision, the maximum animal units allowed will be 1 per acre. But then it goes there and gives you a graph, and it says, like, if you get the sheep, it gives you 2.
Because what they say in number 2 is the following table establishes what constitute, so they say the maximum animal units shall be 1 per acre. So a unit is, you get 1 unit per 1 acre. Okay?
Okay.
So sheep is 2. So you have 2 sheep is 1 unit on 1 acre.
Or
It's
2
terrible.
goats, or 2 long.
That's what it means.
Well,
There's a lot that needs to be addressed in it, I think.
I have definitely been enlightened
Taught
tonight.
something
Yes,
tonight.
I have been taught
You
something.
learn
because
something every day.
This is, yeah, no, 'cause this is not what I read earlier. I'm telling you, I think y'all come here and change this today. I'm telling you, I read this thing 3 times and I was convinced that you could not have animals
You
in
don't
there.
read the Bible, did you? You learn something.
Yeah, every time you read it.
You interpret it a different way. Everybody interpret it a
That's
different way.
crazy. Yeah.
You read it again.
What we'll do is we do need to address it, so can you read into it a little more and see what we can do? Because there again, we don't want to infringe on anybody's rights either,
Yes.
so we need to figure out what's the right and proper way to try to handle this, to try to make sure that everybody's okay. I mean, so yes.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes,
Once
ma'am.
all
I don't
the
know
parcels
when
get
you tap
approved
that in
for
there.
the zoning,
Getting,
then they no longer are, it's no
Are they
longer
right
We
there?
know what happens.
Oh, you know what happens?
acres, is that correct?
Yeah, we
They just
Per
approved-
this, yeah,
Who?
per this.
Yeah, but I don't have, is he separating an
I don't
acre?
know.
No, I'm saying it's separated acres, it's supposed to be half-acre plots.
And he just got out here or something.
Yeah.
Very small.
Right, well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I didn't get approved by the county, then at that point, it's going to the
Pride
county.
them used to raise them.
That's what I was
That's the way it's
saying.
currently written, yes.
Yes.
So if you
The way this is written right now, like Mr. Leonard said, that yes, that he would have to do cows, yes.
I'm thinking that's what.
And I wouldn't think it would be under, I mean, I don't
They
know.
got
Whenever
that.
you guys are going to do their next meeting, I'm going to be here.
Well, we're gonna lean on Mr. Leonard on this one so he can see what our rights are on this and figure out what our next step that we need to do, because this is very kind of jumbled up a little bit, so we do need to address it and clean it up, so, for sure, so, all right, cool. Any more questions?
Don't say no beans or don't.
Ms. King, you good? Ms. Mary, you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Ms. King, all right. Somebody make a motion to adjourn,
I
please.
make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you for coming out, sweetheart, okay? All in favor, turn the side.